So that's a great point there. I don't think we've ever talked about that whenever we've interviewed you. Is on like obviously Amazon is the first step. It's the
It is for us.
behemoth that's out there. It has a lot of eyeballs, but it's not the only
Nope.
avenue.
It's
And
38% of the market share, just to be very clear.
right,
And
so
that's
for
a
most
lot.
people, that means we need to be there. We need to be operating there.
Correct.
And then there's certain situations where it makes sense to get into those other
We have a
tools,
criteria
right?
for that too. Once your brand is reaching past 7 figures in revenue and your profit margin or triple net EBITDA is right at 15% or has ability to get to 15, even 18%, then you should open another channel, but not until that point. See, we live in the country and I have a saying in the country, you can't ride two horses with one ass. So we're going to ride that Amazon horse all the way through to knowledge, experience, growth, and scale, and then open multiple channels. Now, Daniel is just now at 2 million in revenue, starting to open a Shopify store and other channels of sales for his product, but not until he focused on one thing until successful. And that is why we take new people to the storefront first, because it will solve what most people fail at. And that is the eyeballs in the offer. That's actually getting people of buyer intent, okay, to click through. Why is that so important right now? Because you guys should actually realize that in this market, e-commerce has sold more in the last quarter than any year so far. It's a record sales year for physical product sales this year. Okay, and for the first time ever, mobile sales have surpassed desktop. More people
Okay,
bought
so
on mobile.
what does that
sales this
mean?
year.
Like, why does that matter?
More ladies clicked buy on their Amazon cart purchases this quarter than any time in history. It is significant because it has created the mobile purchasing person, which means you don't have to be setting in from a desktop. It has now changed buyer intent.
Okay,
And
so
that's very powerful.
hold on. I'm taking this in and I'm trying to apply it.
It's okay. It excites me.
This is happening in a known recession.
That's the thing you must understand about the power of why I'm playing in this for the last decade and will be playing in it for the next decade.
Because I mean, everybody is Russ. Correct me if I'm wrong or if I'm misspeaking. How many of the calls and the texts and emails and messages have we received in the last 6 months that have to do with what should I be investing in a recession? What should I be investing in right now? Because nothing seems really safe or stable. And what Neil just said is it's growing leaps and bounds in the midst of a recession.
For where I'm going to put my money, to clarify that statement, is I'm putting it in physical assets that I can return, and that could be any kind of asset. I mean, real estate's an asset, guns, bullet, gold, silver, anything's an asset that's physical and tangible, right, out of a transient wealth. But the end result is I can put that in a physical inventory as well, and I can sell it for 5 to 10 times what it's worth on Amazon. And it is products that are in demand. Of course, there's concerns that, well, what products are recession proof? That's a whole nother conversation to have. But clearly, there's plenty of products to be bought that are not currently in people's minds as products they wouldn't consume because of inflation or recessionary concerns. Clearly. Can that change? Absolutely. Everything's changing. But at the same time, I've been through a lot of change in this marketplace in the last decade. And nothing's quite as significant as some of the things we're seeing now. So I always like to make sure we cover pros and cons, because it is a business and we got to treat it like a business. This is not a side hustle. It's not a hobby business. And Daniel, for example, and Brian, others did not treat this as a hobby business. They treated it as a true business model. People will say, well, Amazon isn't a true business model. I just want you to understand e-commerce is a business model. Amazon is just a marketplace. It's a tool. It's a hammer. It's a mechanism. And that's all you need to see it as.
Well, and I think the key part for people to understand, because we have a business partner who's been very, 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 very successful in business. Mm-hmm. He runs a podcast called The Business School. Like the guy has had a $1 billion exit. And he said that the most efficient way to build wealth is by owning an operating company. What you're talking about is how to build an operating company, but not have to have all the marketing channels that someone goes out and starts a business without any idea whether or not somebody wants to buy the product. You're saying, hey, no, we're going to not try to invent a new product. We're just going to innovate on an existing one. That's we're going to be able to test it in small quantities first. If it works, now we can take the profitability model bringing ourselves up to the top of the marketing list on by spending some of that money on the best marketing channel for people to buy products, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's one of the models I found to be most successful for people who are getting started, who want to achieve freedom in some way, right? They want to set better work hours. They want to get better return on their money. They want to spend time with friends and family. They want to go on a 4-week vacation. We were just talking about that a minute ago, Russ, with Joey, about where we go for vacations, and it was like, well, we get an Airbnb and hang out for a month down in Pensacola. The freedom is the thing that this allows. It allows us to not have to sacrifice those other things in time and energy and money to scale, right? Because it is a one-to-many relationship. I can hit millions of people who are interested in my product, and my organic and traffic and growth reach of reaching those people to buy is not something that creates a 50-hour work week for me, right? I can reach them. And what happens is, if people are not careful, they can get bogged down in the idea that an operating company can entrap them in the business. And that's not actually true. When you set it up correctly, what I call almost automated income, okay, then you can set up standard operating procedures. You can have virtual assistants. You can have what are called objectives and key results, OKRs. And you set those principles of fundamental business in place, and it does not enslave you to this business model. Daniel works 10 to 15 hours a week on a multi-7-figure business. It's going to net him $1 million in profit this year. All right. So that is the kind of thing.
Repeat that one more time for the person who just missed that on the treadmill. Say that one more time.
I feel like I'm stealing his glory by saying this out loud. No. Daniel's company just broke $2 million in sales with $1 million in profit.
And he's going to work how many hours a week?
He works about 10 to 15 hours a week because of the systems.
That's not, by the way, Joey, that's what my daughter's friend would have qualified as rich based upon her $570 an hour. Right? I'm just ballparking that's a little north of 570. Yes.
But see, what I'm looking at is people who understand that, look, if I can get a 15% return on my 7 figures and pull out 150,000 for 10 hours a week of work or less for that segment of model, because it's actually relatively smaller when you get it up, I consider that a win in my book. Now, the others might say, well, that's not great. I want more passive, or I need something else. And that's okay. But everybody has a little bit of a different philosophy on how to approach this. I personally, like you, have no wealth in my Wall Street accounts. I don't have a 401k. I don't have my retirement plan is continue building brands and exiting them, because there's nothing to stop me in this model. Amazon cares about the customer, and they care about fuzzy bunny slippers and bicycles and baseball seats, basketball. How did I just put all that together into one sentence? There's products flowing from my brain. I made up new ones just now. A bicycle basketball seat, guys. I don't know what that means. Go look it up. The concept is that you can continue to reiterate this, build multiple channels, right? And I think to understand the differences, one of the cons I think at times is people do kind of want to oversimplify this, and it is an operating business. There are fundamentals you have to learn. We jokingly say you got to drink from a fire hose in year one. It's like taking a 4-year uni course in 1 year. But the principles of business apply first. The fundamentals of business and practical business apply second. And then we take product into Amazon FBA. When you understand how that works, you are set up for the major 4 pillars of success in this model. You will have profitable growth, scale, and an exit potential. That is the fundamental work here. But understand, like Daniel, for example, is a go-getter. He's tenacious. He dug in his heels. He got his kids around the table. And that's one of the things I love, is that most of the people in our community bring their kids or family members to the table, and they're learning how to do transitory wealth. They're putting generational opportunities. They're bringing their kids in as alternatives to education and setting up at the table. And we even have a couple of kids in here that are starting their brands now because of that, right? So they're learning alternatives, not just to wealth, but education too. Right. And that's a huge upside in my mind.
So I'm gonna round us out. I know we're almost out of time, but I don't want to miss this. The students that you've been able to work with over the years that have had success in the e-commerce space. First of all, it's not guaranteed, and there's no guarantees. Hey, once I do this, I will definitely be successful. What are those key aspects of those people that you've worked with that have just had meteoric success?
They have typically had some other trouble in life with business. They tried something and it didn't work, but they didn't give up. So they're tenacious. They want to figure out how to make it work. They're willing to put in the effort, and they understand the real wealth or business building doesn't happen in 3 days and $1 million in 30 days. They recognize that if I take 6 to 12 months worth of effort in this, then I see this becoming a long-term viable model. So they understand the principles of business. While they may not understand the fundamentals yet, that's something that's going to be taught. They typically understand money already to some degree and its use and power and how to work it properly as an asset in their life. And they're typically have got a framework of family orientation. They've got purpose-driven aspects to this business model or business in general that don't just focus profit first. They're typically people who see fun, people, and profit as the pillars of that. And Daniel and others fall into that category. And they want that purpose aspect and the freedom that comes with this kind of model.
Is it so we break this down within our investor DNA, right? There's aspects to someone who's going to be really good with people, someone who's going to be more team oriented, someone who's going to follow a process very well, and someone who's going to want to invent their own. Somebody who's going to want to stay, doing something for a long period of time. Somebody who's want constant flexibility and ultimate adjustment in their schedule. Do you see those things? Do you see like, oh, typically the person who wants this doesn't fit well. The person who likes this does. When you go into some of those traits, what would your feedback be?
They are typically the kind of people who they need a little bit of systemization, and once they catch on, they can adapt it to themselves. So they're a little bit process oriented in their mind. They understand that invention is cool but not required. So they're not really in an inventor mindset, an idea mindset, constantly thinking of all new kinds of ideas and ways. They're willing to follow a process to see the output of it. And so from that perspective, they typically have an operator mindset, someone who has already been in operations and understands processes and whatnot, and then sees the process of this as something that they can repeat and grow for themselves.
I love it. Well, Neil, thank you so much for coming on again. I'm so excited to have you here in Birmingham, sharing with our Inner Circle Live members live, right? So if you haven't already signed up, go to wealthwithoutwallstreet.com/live, but also go to wealthwithoutwallstreet.com/voltage. If you're interested in getting started in this process, Neil has built a course, right? That you can go through, a webinar series that someone can like start in this process. And I love the fact that you give this away for free. Really quickly, what is it that someone would get if they go to wealthwithoutwallstreet.com/voltage and go through that process?
There's going to be about a 45-minute presentation. It was a podcast recording with myself and Kevin Harrington on there, talking about how he's done $5 billion in physical products and how we developed a methodology that he's now calling the as seen on TV model of putting your products on Amazon. And we go through the model of that and how we adapt products and stuff. And there's a lot of information given in about 45 minutes. That will show you more details of stuff we talked about today and how we think. If you join and sign up for that, and there's a link on there, we'll maybe put one on there or not. There's a free course as well that I can give you later with a 3-part series about giving information and making sure you guys understand what you want. And then there's a call to action to just reach out to me if you think this might be something you want to look a little deeper into.
Awesome. Neil, thank you for coming from a place of contribution and always adding value to our community, to our tribe. We love having you on the show and can't wait to see you here in Birmingham. If you loved today's episode, please like it, share it, review it, help us beat the big tech algorithm and get the word out about how to create financial freedom through wealth without Wall Street. We'll catch you on the next episode.